battery is under this cover, right?
Right.
So if you want to get the battery out, you have to take this cover off, and then you have to take this support brace off.
Oh no.
You have to undo these bolts and then pull that off to get the battery out.
Oh no.
And as if that's not bad enough, like a couple of years later, the same first generation Lumina, what they did is they took this washer fluid tank and they actually extended it over the battery and hooked it here. So then you had to take the washer fluid tank off the strut to get the battery out.
General Motors. You're acting a bit like Ford now with that engineering. Maybe they considered this car to be disposable.
I think that's exactly what it was. These cars were built to be driven 100,000 miles and then junked.
Yeah.
They weren't built to be maintained. And that's why it's such a struggle to keep it running. It's like an alcoholic who's just determined to kill themselves no matter how you try to rescue them. You fix one thing and something else breaks, you know?
That's a good line. An alcoholic determined to jump off.
Now, the idea, I think, from what I've read, is that when this car came out, you either had to have airbags,
Yeah.
or you had to have automatic seatbelts, right?
Right.
And most cars with the automatic seatbelt did it with the thing that snaked along here.
Right.
Their solution was, we'll have the belt in the door, manual seatbelt, but you're supposed to leave it plugged in all the time. And when you enter and exit the car, you just open the door like this, and then you get in
through the belt.
through the belt.
You're supposed to go like...
Yeah, exactly. And that's in the book. That's in the user's manual.
What?
Illustrations. That's how it's supposed to work.
Okay, we need like a demonstration for this. You can just do that.
It's 50 pages in the user's manual just
Yeah.
about the seatbelts. Oh.
Really? Let's see that in action. Nice.
About just the seatbelts.
51 pages just talking about belts.
Yeah, and now this is hilarious. Maybe, I don't know if you want to shoot video for this, but the first thing they do is they illustrate why you should use safety belts, and they start with an illustration of a kid on a bike riding into some cinder blocks for some reason, right? And they say, okay, so if you hit cinder blocks, then you'll pitch over the handlebars.
That's funny.
Now,
that kid's freaking gonna eat it. He's gonna wreck his sister's 10-speed. Now, what if we put your chair on some wheels? And
like, why would you contrive something like this? Like, what?
These illustrations, first of all, they're in color. They're not line drawings. They had to hire an artist to make this.
And how little faith do you have in your customer's ability to understand the principle of inertia that you have? Because then they extended the third thing.
Okay, now they got photos
of an actual crash, and I guess they illustrated some like spiderweb cracks on the windshield there to show that the head's hitting it.
Oh yeah, that's drawn in afterwards.
So they had to illustrate you should wear seatbelts because inertia in 3 separate stages. That's, I think, one of the reasons why this is such a long manual. And then here, automatic lap shoulder belt. You get...
It's automatic because you don't have to buckle up. Automatic in the... Yeah, you're just supposed to keep the belts buckled.
It's like cheese coming off a pizza. When you open the door. It's
yeah, like the stringiness.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
That's how it was supposed to be. And they just expected that people would just tolerate that.
Right.
And then they have just sections about like where the belt should sit on your body and what's going on with your rib cage and why they. You know.
Oh baby. Seatbelt used during pregnancy. Seatbelts work for everybody, including pregnant women.
They took the time to animate the little fetus all tucked in.
Yeah, and it keeps going. It keeps going. This is just page 34
of the rear seats.
We're halfway through the explanation. No, it's okay, child.
Oh wait, child, baby, go right into the windshield. Like your baby's gonna die if you go right through the windshield.
Now we're on page 41. More child seats, child seats, child seats, child seats. You know what this is about? Cargo hooks or something?
How to hook your child seat. Still child seat.
Older children.
Older children.
Look at what's going on here. Going over the seat, I guess, in a collision.
That's what happens. You're going into the front seat, And one of the Hardy boys there is buckled up in the back. I gotta put gloves on, one sec. This is, I don't even think it's 30 out here yet.
And so that's it. That's the section about how to properly operate your...
This is gonna be one gigantic bit in the middle of the review just talking about the weirdness in this manual. Dude, I got my parents' car tonight. We're going to the mall.
Is like tucked away on the side of the steering column here.
Yeah, I can't, there it is.
Most cars it's supposed to be like, it's plainly visible. Usually like it's up here or like somewhere on the dash here. Here they hide it here. So like if you're in an emergency situation, and like these were like fleet rental cars.
Oh,
like,
totally.
So
this was a big time rental car.
So people would like, you'd have somebody who's unfamiliar with the car, they could get into an emergency situation and they're like frantically searching for the hazard light switch. You gotta like turn your head and like lean over just to see it here. And it's the same thing with these window switches here. I was telling about this earlier. Every other car I've had, the window switches are angled up to sort of face the driver. These are angled away from you, so like from a seated position, you can't really see very well like which switch is doing what. You gotta kind of go by feel. But down on the switch, physically down is down on the window. Up on the switch is up on the window, but the text is upside down in relation to the real world so that you can read it like when you lean over to look at it. So what ends up happening is that down is up on the text and up is down. It's just like, what were they thinking, you know? This little slider here, this is another cost-saving thing. This is the dash illumination on this slider, the bottom part. But when you get up to here, this up here controls the map lights. These are unfortunately burnt out. The map lights and the dome light. So it's these tiny little detents here that you can barely feel. You push it all the way up, that's maximum gauge illumination, and then one tiny click, which is so easy to go past, turns these on, and then one more tiny click for that dome light.
Bizarre.
All three functions on one slider.
I like how you knew the industry terminology, detents. Not the clicky parts.
And that's another thing, the detents just feel like off, like this turn signal, it's really hard. I mean, it works fine, and it cancels fine, but it just feels like it takes too much effort to push it. Like
you should feel what it feels like on a Grand National or any of those ones. It feels like you're about to snap it off. It's like, and I'm like, and he's like, no, that's the way the multi-stock was on those GM cars. So these ashtrays in the back are not held in by anything apart from the elasticity of the excuse me, rubber of the armrest. So they just kind of right in there. And of course they're plastic, and they're plastic all the way on the inside, which means your cigarettes are going to melt all of this, as they did right there at some points in its history.
The previous driver was a smoker. There's a few cigarette burns.
But it smells nice in here. Now that's interesting that you've got what sort of looks like an OBD2 port down there, but this is a 1990,
I guess it's OBD1.
And that's 6 years away. Some sort of diagnostic port down there. I don't know if that doesn't look like an OBD port from here.
I wanted to show you this too, the cassette eject. When you eject a cassette, it doesn't like, it just like shoots out. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even bother to like...
Do that again.
It just spits it out like that. There's nothing to like sort of hold it and catch it and hold it there like there should be, you know? And the power switch, this is another thing that perplexes me about this radio. Now, normally on a radio, you got the power switch either on the volume knob or located somewhere prominently at like one of the corners of the radio, right? Here, they made it this, it's the second tiniest button. The only smaller button is this Dolby noise reduction button.
Ooh, it's got Dolby. That means you can put a chrome tape in there.
Yep. And you
can hear my Pennsylvania Dutch coming in.
Like, it's so close to the bass slider that like good luck actually pushing it and turning it on without like messing up your base setting, you know?
Yeah.
Catch sticking out here, right in the middle, even though it's got a high sill, which pretty much guarantees that you're gonna like gouge any sort of heavy box or big thing that you're trying to load into the trunk.
And people are getting these from airports because they're rental cars, and in goes their luggage and scrape.
Yep. And then of course they have these arms here that hold the trunk that end up like extending down
Into the
so
thing,
that
yeah.
That crushes your luggage while you close the trunk lid.